Another year has come and gone, ladies and gentlemen, and we are now at the best movies of the year list. As you all know, for the last few years, I haven't really done a worst off list, so I'm just gonna keep it to the best movies. And there were a lot to sift through this year. This was one of the strongest years in film after a couple of very slow years in 2020 and 2021. And this was a hard list to make, because there was a lot of really great films to choose from, but unfortunately, you can only come down to a few. This list, however, is going to be about 15 movies. There were 36 to go through, and eventually, some of them have ended up in the honorable mentions, and some of them are going to be in the listing. But before we get started, I do want to give a big thank you to everyone who is right now on the channel. Thank you for subscribing, thank you for watching, thank you for being a part of this. The last few months especially, your support really has meant the world, and I'm so glad you guys have tuned in. I hope you guys continue to tune in as the months go by, and more stuff to come in 2023. And so, without further ado, let's talk about a lot of the movies this year, and especially let's start off with the honorable mentions, because there are several, and they're all really, really good movies. Starting with the recent one, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I never expected to like this movie as much as I did, but it was a really good time. Gorgeously animated, the fantastic voice acting, and the brilliant action sequences. It is one of DreamWorks' best in a long time, and I thought this was a really fun time of the movies. Speaking of DreamWorks, The Bad Guys is a movie I saw earlier this year, but I did not get a chance to review, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was very, very entertaining and beautifully animated once again, and again with some stellar voice work. Both these movies also had a very mature tone to them that I really appreciated, and so I'm glad to have seen them in theaters. Next up, the double horror bill feature of X and Pearl. These two movies were awesome, and I loved what Ty West brought to each and every one of them. At one point in time, these were both in the top 15, but then a few other movies have come out. But make no mistake, I still love both these movies, and I think what you have with Mia Goth in this, her performance in Pearl, is actually still one of my favorite performances of the year. And I really love what X was as well. I can't wait to see the third movie that'll hopefully come out very, very soon. Since we're going down the horror pipeline, Barbarian was one of the biggest surprises of the year. A movie that is so unexpected, and I'm hoping that everybody saw it without seeing a single trailer or reading up a single plot detail. This was such a great time at the movies, and once again, brilliantly directed by Zach Krieger, and some great performances, and a very eerie, scary tone that really managed to stick the landing, and I had a very good time with it. The Menu was great. I almost had this in the top 15, but I thought this was a really, really great film and definitely worth your time. It's going to be streaming very soon, but if you have a chance to see it in theaters still, I highly recommend going and checking it out, because this is definitely one you want to see on the big screen. A movie that I came to like a lot as the year progressed also was Elvis. A movie that I don't think is fully perfect just yet, but Elvis does deserve a shout out, because it's the movie that I had a lot of fun with and such an entertaining time with as I watched it more and more. And I think it's just a really entertaining Baz Luhrmann flick, and Austin Butler, fantastic as Elvis. He does a really great job. It's all kinds of energy just, dropped into one film, and it's just bursting with it at the seams. And it was a great time at the movies. Early on in the year, there was another movie that I watched and I really enjoyed, and that was called Fresh. Fresh was a film that was on Hulu, which was starring Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar Jones. And that film, again, I hope you guys don't watch that reading up anything. Try and see it if you can without a single plot detail in mind. It's a lot of fun. And speaking of which, I saw that at Sundance. Another film I saw at Sundance that was really great was Resurrection, with starring Rebecca Hall. This was a very bizarre film, a very interestingly done horror thriller, and with a performance from Rebecca Hall that is also among my best of the year. A really career-defining thing, and I wish more awards would make note of it. It's a shame. It's the same thing with The Night House last year. Weird, the Al Yankovic story on the Roku channel. This was one of the funniest movies I saw this year. I had such a great time with it, and Daniel Radcliffe really did a great job as Weird Al Yankovic. I thought Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna was great. I really liked this movie, and it's really worth checking out if you haven't yet. Speaking of surprises earlier this year, I also want to give a shout out to Bones and All, directed by Luca Guadagnino and starring Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell. This was another movie that really surprised me. I did not expect it to be what it was, and it was genuinely quite hard-hitting, very emotionally so, and definitely worth your time. Again, try to watch it without knowing too much. I say that for a lot of these movies, but it's best to go in blind because you'll be surprised by what they can bring you. And finally, when it comes to honorable mentions, is She Said. This was a very hard-hitting journalistic drama which was about the Harvey Weinstein scandal, and the performances that you get from Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan in this were fantastic. And the film does a really great job of investigating that story. While it does it from a point of view that you know a lot about if you had followed the real story, it does a really, really good job of it, and it was a film that is definitely worth checking out if you get the time. And now we move on to the top 15. This is the thing that you guys have been waiting for. Now, there are some choices in here that are going to baffle or maybe surprise, but I genuinely loved all of these movies. But make no mistake, I love the honorable mentions too. There's just so many good movies to choose from. So without further ado, let us begin with number 15. At number 15 is The Woman King, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood and starring Viola Davis, Tusu Mbedu, Sheila Atim, Lashana Lynch. Great film. This was awesome. This was one of the most electric times I had in the theater all year. Very buzzing audience, and the film is itself brilliantly done. A fantastic action epic that has some great performances in it, and it's just beautifully directed. Definitely check it out if you get the chance. It's now available on 4K and Blu-ray, so definitely make your way to that. And it's fantastic. It really is a damn good movie. Number 14. At number 14, Tar, directed by Todd Field and starring Cate Blanchett as a composer who is going through some really troubled times. This movie was fantastic as well. And it's a 2-hour and about 40-minute near epic of a composer just absolutely being put through the ringer, and Blanchett is phenomenal in this movie. Definitely worth checking out. It's a very brutally done piece of art, and it's got some amazing, acting, of course, but also storytelling, the score, Hildur Grenadiers. It's just fantastic stuff and worth your time for sure. Number 13. At number 13, Prey. Yeah, I didn't forget about this. I had this on my list. I was going to put this in there. What a great prequel movie to the Predator series. What a great addition to the franchise. Amber Midthunder, fantastic. The way this film has been directed by Trachtenberg is insanely good. I mean, the visual effects, yeah, sometimes they were a little iffy at times, but overall it led to a movie that I genuinely had an absolute blast with, and I honestly gave it a 10 out of 10, and I kind of stand by that. I had a really, really good time with this movie, and I highly recommend checking it out. It's on Hulu or Disney Plus, wherever you are. Definitely a film that is worth seeing. Number 12. At number 12 is a movie that I didn't think was going to happen. I actually thought that this was going to be one of the hardest movies for anyone to make, but Black Panther Wakanda Forever surprised the hell out of me. I saw this movie multiple times, and having seen it a bunch of times now, it is not only one of my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, it's one of my favorite movies of the year. What a powerfully done film, and one that I couldn't have imagined was ever, like I said, going to happen, because emotionally that has got to be so unbelievably taxing. But Coogler and team pulled off something truly special, and it's a movie that is worthy of a lot of praise, with some fantastic performances across the board, great score once again, some beautifully done sequences. It's a film that is, yeah, it's a special one. So definitely worth mentioning and adding to this list. Number 11. At number 11, The Northman, another movie I didn't forget about. It came out earlier in the year, and I remembered. It was a great movie. It's a damn good metal Viking film, which is essentially just balls to the wall insanity. Like, they're never a dull moment, with some great stuff again from Alexander Skarsgård, Anya Taylor-Joy, Claes Bang, Ethan Hawke, Nicole Kidman doing an insane performance in this, and Robert Eggers did a great job directing it. This man is a fantastic director. I can't wait to see what he does next, and I hope you guys checked it out. I know it didn't do super well in theaters, but if you had a chance, definitely see it, and it is really worth your time, for sure. Number 10. Now we're into the top 10. This is where it gets interesting. So number 10, we have The Fabelmans, directed by Steven Spielberg, and it's the story of essentially his life, semi-autobiographical, And it's a very special movie. It's not a movie that I expect everyone to flock and go see, which I don't think people did because it didn't do super well in theaters, but I hope it does a lot better at home because this is a very beautifully done ode to filmmaking also, but just about the power of what movies can mean to us in our lives. And the performances that you get from that, again, phenomenal. Steven Spielberg as a director is doing some of the best work he's done in his entire career over here. And it's a very special movie and emotionally hard-hitting. And it ends on maybe my favorite final shot of the year. That's for damn sure. Number 9. At number 9, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This was a special animated film. I teared up. It was funny. It was heartfelt. It was beautiful, and definitely one of the best movies of the year and the best animated movie that I did see this year. What a beautifully done stop motion epic, and just gorgeous to take in every single shot of it. And I mean, the only Del Toro could have pulled off something like this. And then the voice work that you get with it is sublime. And mixed with that, with some, outstanding animation and some great musical score and a great sense of storytelling, you have one of the most imaginative movies of the year, and one that definitely deserves to be on this list. Number 8. At number 8, Glass Onion. This was a film that I really, really enjoyed once again, and now that it's available on Netflix, I can talk more about it. It's a film that I think is a slight hair below Knives Out in terms of pacing maybe, but I gotta tell you, this film really did blow the socks off. I saw it 3 times. I've seen it once already on Netflix, and I saw it twice in theaters, and I had a great time with it. Daniel Craig is having the ball of his life. Like, he's so committed to this performance, and he's doing so well. But the ensemble cast that you get with Janelle Monáe, Edward Norton, Catherine Hahn, Kate Hudson, Jessica Henwick, and it's remarkably done. And it leads to maybe my favorite third act of the year. Just fantastic stuff, and definitely worth checking out. It's on Netflix, like I said now, so, if you aren't checking it out this weekend, what are you doing, really? Number 7. I just knew while watching it halfway through that this was going to be something very special, and it was enough that it landed up on here, and that was Nope, directed by Jordan Peele. This was his foray into science fiction, and what he does over here is so cool. I've seen this movie about 4 or 5 times now, and each time it's gotten better. So many layers to it that you unravel and you look into as it progresses, and it has some of the most outstanding cinematography and visual effects of the year. Some great performances. Keke Palmer is incredible in this. One of my favorite scores of the year is in this by Michael Abels, and it's really magnificently crafted, and it definitely gets better and better on each viewing, and now it's ended up on this list of the best movies of the year. Number 6. At number 6 is S.S. Rajamouli's RRR. I told you this was going to be on the list, and very much well-deserved placing because this movie is awesome. It's a fantastic piece of entertainment that just absolutely blows you away. And what you get from everyone over here involved is downright remarkable. What a fantastic piece of entertainment. Just balls to the wall action, and you can't stop watching it. It's actually the most rewatched movie of the year for me. I don't think I've seen any movie as many times as I watched RRR, at least in full. Like, you can go back to certain clips of certain things over and over again, but in full, RRR takes the cake. This was fantastic. I can't wait to see what he does next and what else he brings to film in general. I mean, we are living in a blessed time, and international cinema is really thriving and doing really, really well right now. Number 5. At number 5 is a movie that I'm sure you're going to see a lot of on lists, and that is Top Gun: Maverick. This film was extraordinary. Another film that just absolutely understood what it means to be a cinematic experience. Tom Cruise is fantastic in it. The direction by Kosinski is brilliant. It's gorgeous. It's beautifully scored and sounds amazing too. It's a film that really has everything that you want out of a legacy sequel, but it's also a great character piece. I said RRR is the best action movie of the year, and I mean that because I found Maverick to be a really great character drama about the legacy of Maverick more than anything else. And so while you got a very action-packed third act, it really is about that core personality and exploring that much more than the first movie did. And it leads to some really wonderfully done moments, and it's a movie that absolutely deserves to be on here as well. Number 4. At number 4, Avatar: The Way of Water, directed by James Cameron and taking place many years after the first one, both in release and movie timeline. This was extraordinary. You never bet against James Cameron, man. This is a man who understands the cinema. This is a man who understands spectacle. That's why you don't ever go into a film directed by him and expect anything less than absolute perfection. Just a drop-dead, gorgeous experience, and he absolutely crushes it. This is such a well-done movie, and I think he did a fantastic job of just bringing it all to screen. And it's visually the most spectacular movie that I've ever seen. It's gorgeously directed, has a brilliant set of sequences, like the third act especially is insanely good, some fantastic performances, and I loved it. I love this movie. Number 3. At number 3, The Banshees of Inisherin, directed by Martin McDonagh and starring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. This movie is about the fallout of two friends who just don't want to talk to each other anymore, but as the film progresses, things get crazier and crazier in terms of how far you would go to not talk to someone, but also what is going on in each of the characters' lives that is making things more extensively, problematic. But what you get over here in this movie is just really special. This is such a great look at just humanity in general and just these human, authentic, organic feelings that are within us and the brokenness that we feel when we're not feeling that connection. And I mean, there are some devastating moments in this film that are going to stick with you long after the credits have rolled. And it's a film that absolutely I admired. I loved it. It was wonderfully done, and very much is a 10 out of 10 in my book, and I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's on HBO Max now, so if you have a chance, see it this weekend, and I think you're going to have a very good time with it. And it's a great dark comedy too. Like, it's not just all serious. You get a very fun movie out of it as well. Number 2. At number 2 is a movie that did not leave my top 3 all year. It's stuck there. That was there from March. It's there till now. And I'm just gonna say it, I am a big fan of The Batman. This film was wonderful. I mean, I think about it in terms of comic book movies, like what are my favorite comic book movies ever made, and I would honestly put Batman up there now. Because it's a film that so wonderfully understands the nitty-gritties of this character, some of the darker elements of him, and the performances from Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, the direction by Matt Reeves, the outstanding work he did over here in the face of adversity. I mean, he filmed this in a very tough time in the world, and they somehow managed to pull it off. Michael Giacchino's score, which is my favorite of the year, that is not even getting Oscar consideration right now, which is a damn shame. And it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, The Batman was truly special, and it was a film that is worthy of all praise and love, and definitely worth your time. And I can't wait to see what Matt Reeves does with this universe. This movie is very, very good. Like, I absolutely love it. I don't have any major issues with this movie at all. The thing about number 1 is that it proves something which is really great, which is the power of imagination. Like, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio did that. But this one has everything in it. Everywhere. All at once. I can't think of a film that managed to pull off the feat that this one did, which was be exactly what it says it is. It's a film that traverses through the multiverse, and you see all kinds of things play out, all kinds of bizarre scenarios with bizarre imagery, and it is such a special film. To anyone who is out there who wants to make movies, who wants to tell stories on the big screen, and sometimes tries to figure out what story can you tell, how well can you tell it. I mean, what you get with Everything Everywhere All at Once is an encapsulation of all of that. That did not limit you. Go further. Go all the way. Do all you can because that's the stuff that really shines. And the belief in this project from the entire cast, from a brilliant Michelle Yeoh to Stephanie Su, Kei Kwan, brilliant again in this movie, Jamie Lee Curtis having the ball for her life. I mean, seriously, what you get here is such a monumentally special film that I cannot help but recommend it every single time it comes up in a conversation, and it is definitely worth all of your praise. Now, there is a movie I forgot to mention in all this. I want to give a special shout out to a movie I saw recently, and that is Decision to Leave, directed by Park Chan-wook, and is a film about a murder that takes place on a mountain. I wanted to give this a special shout out because the list was already kind of done, was already getting discombobulated, but I absolutely loved this film, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. It's on Mubi, and I think if you're getting a chance to see it there, see it instantly. You're gonna get some immaculate production over there, along with some really great performances. Tang Wei is incredible, and it's a film that is just gorgeously directed. So yes, special mention, done. Definitely go check that out. I did not review it, but this is my endorsement to you that you have to see Decision to Leave. So definitely let me know what your thoughts are about that. And that's the list. I'm sure I've forgotten a bunch of stuff. There were so many movies, like I said, to go through. There are so many things I forgot to mention, which I also really enjoyed this year. But at the end of the day, it just proves how good a year 2022 was. There are so many things to admire and to love, and this has been a very strong year for cinema. I can't wait to see what 2023 holds for us, and I'm excited for the possibilities of that. Let me know what you guys thought of 2022. What are your favorite movies of the year? What are your thoughts in the comments below? Let me know everything, your own rankings as well. As always, if you like this, guys, please do subscribe. Thank you very much for a very fun and very awesome 2022. And I'll see you guys at the movies.